Hello guys, and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. Today I'm going to show you step by step how to make a shell in Blender. So not only are we going to be doing the modeling, I'm going to show you step by step how to do a really cool shell shader that's going to make this look really awesome. So let's jump in, and I hope you guys enjoy. So with a new scene open up in Blender, let's select all the default objects and let's just press delete. We're then going to go Shift A, and under our mesh options, so let's add in a circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to our modifier stack here. We're going to go add modifier, and let's give this a array modifier. Now currently it is arraying along the x-axis. We want to kind of make that 0 and then give it a value here on the z. So let's just make it 0.1 for now. But what you're going to see here is nothing happens, and the reason is because this geometry is perfectly flat. So to make this work, we're going to go into edit mode, and with all of this active, we're going to go into the front orthographic view, and we're going to go R, and we're just going to ever so slightly just rotate it a little bit. And you're probably not noticing anything now that we've rotated it very slightly, but if you come over here to this Z distance and you increase it, you can actually now see we have something, and you wouldn't have anything there if you didn't rotate it slightly, because if I now go S, Z and go 0, we kind of lose that. So just a little bit of rotation, and let's tab back out. And now let's go to our count here, and let's just make it 280 for now. Okay, so we should have something that looks like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in an empty, and we're going to add in a cube. We're then going to select our stack of circles here, and we're going to go to the object offset under the array modifier, and under the drop down here, let's click on this little eyedropper and select our empty. Now we have an offset object. So if we now grab our empty here, we can now press R to rotate it. And you can see we have all sorts of cool stuff that happens. So let's start by going to the front orthographic view. We're going to go R and ever so slightly just rotate this cube like so, till we get something that kind of looks like this. And then we're going to go to our top orthographic view, and now we're going to go R, and we're going to rotate it out till we get something that looks like this. Okay, and then we're going to go S, and we're going to scale it very slightly. Right? So by doing this, we can now actually go to our different axes, and we can rotate to adjust like this, and we can even go to the front. And this is going to give us the ability to use this offset for the rotation and the scale to give us this sort of shell effect. And now all you have to do is, once you kind of like the way this looks, is just grab your shell. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to your count and just increase it till you like what you see. So I'm going to probably just go 500 like that. And then I'll just grab this empty, and I'm going to go S and just scale it down a little bit more till it's smaller towards the end. And then I'm just going to go R and rotate it on the Z just to scale it out a little bit like this. So something like that should look okay. And now that we have that, we're going to actually grab this stack of circles. We're going to come to our modifier, we're going to come to the drop down, and we're going to go ahead and apply that. Now we're going to tab into edit mode. We're going to make sure we have edge select enabled, and with everything active, we're going to go Control E, and we're going to go bridge edge loops. And now they're all bridged. So now we have a shell. Let's tab back out. Let's select this empty and delete it. And now let's just go into edit mode again quickly. I think what we could do here is just grab this shell, enable proportional editing, and just make it connected only. And then let's just move this out a little bit, just so it's not intersecting in the inside here, at least here where you can see it. The rest is all okay. So now we've got this, and let's tab back out, right click and go shade smooth. Let's give this a solidify modifier. Let's give it a little bit of thickness. And then to make it look a bit better on the edge, let's just come in here, Control R, left click, and just add in a loop. And I think that looks a lot better. And maybe let's just bump that thickness up just a little bit. And let's give it a subdivision surface modifier. So now it's nice and smooth, and it's looking really cool. So now we want to give this a nice material. So let's go into our front orthographic. I'm going to just select this. I'm going to kind of rotate it like so, just to get a nice view on it. You can pose it however you wish to do so. Maybe something like this looks cool. Then you're going to go Shift A, you're going to add in a camera, and then let's position the camera towards the front of our scene. And I'm just going to grab this shell. I'm going to go S to scale it down a little bit, and position my camera about here. So now we have a camera setup. Let's go to our render properties. Let's make it cycles. It's just going to look a lot better. And under our device, if you have a GPU, always use it. If you don't, just stick to CPU. And under your render, let's take the max samples and let's make that 60. Now we're gonna make sure to save. It's always good to save. I'm just gonna call it shell tutorial. Let's go save. Then we're gonna go Shift A. Let's add in an area light and go G, Z, move it up. Let's go to our light properties. Let's make it 120. And let's just increase the size a little bit. Now we're gonna go Z and go rendered and see what it looks like. Another thing we can do is we can go to our world properties. We can go to our color here. Ideally, you can give this a HDRI or you can just give it a sky texture. You guys can go ahead for now and just give it a sky texture. I'm just gonna go ahead and add an environment texture, and I've already got some HDRIs, but this is completely up to you. It's just preference. So I'm gonna add an HDRI that I like. And then we're gonna go over to our render properties again quickly. Let's just go down to film and let's make it transparent, just so we're not getting distracted by any backgrounds. And now let's select our shell. Let's go into our shading workspace. Let's go into our front or our camera view here. Let's go Z and go rendered. And with the shell, let's give it a new material. And we're gonna go Shift A, search and get a noise texture. And let's plug this noise texture into the base color. Let's go Shift A, search and get a color ramp node, place it here. And let's drag these two values closer together to give us more contrast. Let's take the detail up to 12 and the roughness, let's take it up to about 8. The scale you can bring down a little bit. This is kind of preference, but now you can see we have kind of like this sort of thing going on here. We're gonna use that for a few different things. So first of all, let's plug that into our roughness. But then let's go Shift A, search and get a bump node. And let's plug that color into the height. And let's take that output and plug it into the normal of our principled. And then take the strength and make it 0.3. Or maybe even a little bit less. So personal preference. And over here, it's probably a little bit too much contrast. So let's just bring this value down just a little bit over here on the black. And now that's looking really cool. Strength over here, maybe even a little bit more down. So that's looking cool, but the color isn't quite right. So let's go Shift A, search and get another color ramp node. And let's put it between this one and the base color input on the principled. And now we can grab these two values. I'm gonna bring this one in and let's make it lighter, kind of make it slightly brown, like a sandy kind of color. Bring this one down and do the same kind of thing, but just a lighter kind of value. And now you can see we have kind of like this cool looking shell shader. But to make this look even cooler, what we can do is we can come over here to the end, drag this material output. Let's go Shift A, search and get an ambient occlusion node. And let's go Shift A, search and get a mix shader. Place it over here. And then let's duplicate our principled shader. Let's plug this into the bottom. And let's make this brown, like so, like a dark kind of brown. And now let's take this color from the ambient and plug it into the factor to mix. And then I'm gonna go Shift A, search and get a color ramp node, place it over here and then tighten up these values by bringing them together. And if they're the wrong way around, just flip these two values so we can only see in the included areas like so. And now you get this kind of like nice contrast that you get from that. And you can come here to this and you can change the value of that sort of color. Another cool thing you can do is take the output from this color ramp and plug it into the roughness of this new principled, and take the output from this normal on the bump and do the same thing. So it shares that reflection and bump from our previous principled shader that we had here. So now that is looking really cool. So let's go ahead and save again. And let's go ahead, render and render image. And here we have our shell done rendering. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this fun little Blender tutorial. I'll be uploading this result to my Patreon as a blend file. Definitely like, subscribe, check out some of my other content, and I'll see you guys next time for another Blender tutorial.